Hey everyone, welcome back to Poker Market Lab. I am doing a series of videos on collecting and investing 101 for those getting started or those who are in the hobby that don't really have a game plan or anything like that, or just want some more information, right? First and foremost, when we're talking investing, this is my opinion about investing. This is not investing advice. Your allocating your money towards anything in your life should be based on your experience, your wisdom, and the information that you've gained through various sources, whether that's online, offline, whatever, okay? You should never be taking buy-sell information, whether this is Pokemon, whether this is stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, anything like that. You should never be taking that information directly from someone. Always take the time, stop, make a plan, make an informed decision. Do not just listen to the talking head online, okay? The world that we live in online information, this is very much a gold rush, and people want to sell you shovels and pans, okay? Meaning courses and information and clicks and views about do this, buy this, all this other. You have to stop and make your own informed decisions. So that's number one, okay? This is the first video in a series about allocating capital, meaning what should you be spending on this hobby, okay? And it is a hobby to me. It's a hobby investment, okay? A little bit about me. I've been investing in printed cardboard for about 5 years. That's Magic, Pokemon, some other card games as well. Again, is hobby investing. So a small amount of my overall net worth, right? I've been regular investing for about 15 to 18 years. That's, stocks, that's mutual funds, ETFs, things of that nature. And I've experienced a lot of ups and downs. So my normal investing started about 2008 or so. So I've experienced some tumultuous times, which I think gives you a certain level of experience in terms of reducing the emotion that you have regarding the price of something, right? You can be emotionally invested in the thing that you're buying, even a stock, right? I love Apple as a company, but you have to disassociate your emotions from the price of something, because otherwise you're going to be disappointed at some point in time. It's only a matter of time before you're disappointed about a stock price going down. And one of the only sure things about investing is that you will experience peaks and valleys in the price of something. You have to be able to ride that out. If you get upset about a booster box going down in value and you sell it, that's what I call a weak hand or a paper hand, where any kind of issue comes up and you just automatically sell, and you're missing out on the potential gains that come after that, right? So let's talk about first. Let's get into some more core principles here about how much money you should be spending on this hobby, okay? And again, this is a personal decision, but I think there's some risk we want to try to avoid here. Number one, please make sure you are out of certain kinds of debt before you're doing this, okay? That means any kind of high interest rate, credit cards, high interest rate, car loans, or anything like that, all that stuff should be paid off, okay? You have to understand that when you're taking money and allocating towards something that you think is going to grow, generally speaking, that's working, your interest-bearing debt is working against whatever you would gain from that investment, okay? If you have a credit card debt that's in the 20%, you're trying to out-earn that, and that's almost an impossibility, okay? I'm not talking about house or anything like that. That's a different type of debt, but please make sure that the money that you're spending on the Pokemon collecting and investing hobby is money you're okay losing, or it's an amount of money you're okay risking. One of the things I also want to caution with is, please do not buy Pokemon product hoping to earn an income, hoping to earn a return with debt, with interest-bearing debt. Again, the same principle applies. You're hoping that the product that you're buying is going to out-earn what interest rate you're spending, you're incurring in order to get that product. I think that's very dangerous. Again, this is your money, but I think that's extremely dangerous. The other question is, from a totality here, how much should I be spending as a percentage of my net worth? How much should I be spending on the Pokemon TCG? And again, this comes down to your own personal ethos. There's a lot of debate about, Pokemon investments, and as it relates to, investing in the S&P 500. Me personally, the vast amount of my portfolio is in pretty much S&P 500 index funds and ETFs. What I spend on the Pokemon hobby just that. It's hobby money. It's hobby money that can earn me money, right? So it's more than just spending a couple $100 on stuff that's not going to earn me money. But it's still a small amount because again, there's risk associated with that. And I think that risk is why I'm doing a separate video on risk, because it is something you really need to consider. I don't think most people think about that long term, like taking a booster, physical object that is desirable because of its condition that plays into the price of it, right? Taking that object, holding on to that for a long period of time, and keeping it safe is something that I don't think people talk about often enough, okay? One thing I would really caution people on is the investment of singles. There are people who make money investing in singles. I think it's very hard to do with Pokemon because there's the play aspect of it, which I think is a whole nother thing. That I don't play the game very much. I don't have a great working knowledge of the game. I've pretty much just started playing the game on the new app, the new TCG game app from Pokemon. I think that's a whole different thing, and I think if you can really understand that part of it, you can certainly make some money. But the rest of it is all subjective, right? So how are you going to know when the market's going to shift and look at a certain art and appreciate that certain art and start to run that up? So I'm not saying it's impossible. For me, I stay away from that completely. I collect singles just because I love them, but I don't buy them with any expectation of return whatsoever. There is, however, the knowledge that most of what you're going to buy from a sealed and single standpoint, there's certain confidence there that the product is going to age well, which I think is extremely important when you're talking about collectibles. And I think the Pokemon Company understands that, which is why I think they're, for the most part, cautious on reprints, because they know that if they made it as cheap as possible to get product, the secondary market would absolutely collapse. And no one wants to open a chaseable Charizard that's worth nothing, right? I don't think that's fun for anyone. Part of going through my binders knowing, hey, I'm not earning on this, but this card is rare and this card has some value to it. And if I wanted to, I could sell it or trade it. That's part of the, the environment that we're in, is that tradability, is that value, is that confidence in there. The booster box investing, on the other hand, is almost like an ETF, at least at the beginning of its life cycle, the first couple of years. The singles, what could be in there for singles, speaks to the cost of the box. So we'll take, for instance, Surging Sparks right now, right? We have the Pikachu SIR that's just going bonkers in value, and that, as it goes up, is going to pull the booster box value with it, right? And so for the rest of time, every booster box that you look at that's sealed, you say in the back of your mind, hey, it could have this card in it. And again, that's speaking to that value. So it creates this pool of value from different sources, different singles, that again informs that secondary market cost on that booster box. So that's why, to me, booster boxes are just, they're a safer bet. They're not as pretty to look at, in my opinion, depending on how you think of things. Most of the booster boxes are pretty close, pretty same in terms of visually. ETBs are nicer to display. But again, it's that value that we're looking for long term. And the other thing to think about when we're talking about getting started in this is, if I get a stock that goes to zero, it's worth zero. It is worth nothing to me whatsoever. It's not worth anything, even emotionally, to me at that point. But a booster box is always crackable. You could always open a booster box and have fun with your kids and relatives, trying to chase a cool card. So I think that's definitely something to think about when you're talking about hobby investing. And I think I'm going to do a separate video on investors versus collectors. A lot of people are like, oh, I hate investors. I hate that people spec into this product. And I have to tell you, in all the people that I've talked to that invest and collect, I have not met a single one that just invests, meaning they buy it as an investment vehicle and they don't care about the product. Okay. I do not think you can collect booster boxes, multiple booster boxes, keep them for a long period of time and not like it, or not fall in love. And this is something that I've experienced. I started with Pokemon when I was a kid, like most people, right? I started as a kid, loved it, fell out of favor with it. And then several years ago, when I started collecting and investing in cardboard, I just was like, hey, Pokemon seems to be a valid, investment vehicle. Started getting some boxes, and over time, you just get sucked into the community, and the community is fantastic. It spans every single age group, from people in their 60s all the way down to 5 and 6 year olds who love opening this product. It holds its value over time. and the community is just super, super positive. And I think that's really something special that should not be discounted. Let's talk about having a plan. I am not going to give you a plan. Okay. There is no one that you should ever listen to online that says, hey, I have a plan on how you can invest in something and make money. That is a red flag. Okay. I don't care who it is. And you should certainly start running if they start charging you for it. Okay. The main thing is have a plan. Adults have a plan and they execute it. And that means how much money you're going to spend, what drives your decision for making a purchase, how are you going to liquidate that product? That's a whole nother video we have to on this series that we're going to have to talk about. How do you exit out of it, right? That's not just like a stock. I make a sell order and it's sold, money in my pocket. Very, very different here, okay? And how much product are you going to buy? How are you going to store it? How are you going to protect it? All things that we're going to have to talk about. But the point in this video is make a plan. One of my favorite plans when I'm talking about allocating money is called the buy and cover method. That's what I call it. So what I'll typically do is buy enough of a set where if one or two boxes, if that set rises, if that booster box rises in value, I wait to the point where if I sell one or two of the boxes, that would cover my cost basis on the other two boxes. So those are essentially riding for free at that point. So that frees up some capital for the family, or I can reinvest that into something else. So that's a plan, right? Same thing when your entry prices for certain things. Again, going back to Surging Sparks right now, the price is starting to run up. Are you going to chase that? Me, I don't chase it. If I miss it, I miss out. And that's not to say I won't go after it a little bit. Like, so for instance, Surging Sparks 160, 170 right now. If I had the option to get boxes for 130, I still think that's a good entry price, but I'm not entering the market at 160 because I have too much. I'm okay losing some of the upside potential if some of the upside potential is already behind me. Okay. Again, this is just my plan. And you may disagree with that. You may be, I reckless abandon. I'm going to just keep shoving money into it. And it's your money to spend 100%. And you should never let anyone talk you off. You should never let anyone inform that decision. Otherwise, it's not for them to do. And when you have a plan, it reduces the anxiety and the emotion surrounding investing. Okay. And I think that's the emotional part is one of the more dangerous things. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, you don't want to put your family at risk with buying printed cardboard, okay? I don't know if I could live with myself if I bankrupted my family to buy Pocket Monster printed cardboard from a card game. Please, please make sure that your family is taken care of. This is all extra money, okay? You should never have any kind of risk. This should never bleed back into your family in terms of blowback, okay? The other thing you need to be okay with is quote-unquote losing money. Not necessarily realized losses, meaning you sell a product at a loss and you've lost money, meaning, again, you need to ride the wave. We are in an upcycle in the Pokemon TCG collecting and investing hobby right now. That will not always be the case. You will lose money and you will also not be great at timing the market, which again is a whole nother video. Time in market always beats timing the market. So you have to be okay with your product sitting at an unrealized loss. And the question is, do you need to pull that product out? Do you need to sell it? If you're financially in a bad spot, you may have to. And again, that's why we talk about only spending money that you have that's extra outside of your emergency fund, outside of your monthly spend, your normal spend to keep the roof over your head and everything. Because if you don't do that, if you buy on debt or you buy with money that you really don't have margin on, right, you're going to end up making decisions from your family life that you're gonna have to make decisions in the hobby investing in order to recoup some money quickly to pay something off or whatever, some unforeseen thing. Make sure you have an emergency fund. Okay. One of my favorite quotes is, investing is 5% intellect and 95% temperament. And again, that goes back to emotion. It's not about being smart. You could go, if you invested extra money that you have, I'm talking just $100, couple $100 here and there, starting in your 20s in an S&P 500 index fund, which requires zero intellect whatsoever. It does require consistency. If you did that in your 20s all the way to your 50s, you would have millions of dollars of a principal investment to retire on. That required zero intellect. It required time in market, okay? Realizing those upside days. And there are very few times, the upswings in the markets are not years. there's specific periods of time. There could be a week or a month specifically that you get most of a gain on for a product. So it's having the product over a long period of time. You smooth out those peaks and valleys. And if you zoom out on that chart, you see that slow general increase over time. That's what we're looking for. And the last part of having a plan is really the mistakes and repetition and time equals the wisdom. You can't rush this. If you're buying a product and selling it a couple months later to realize a few dollars profit, that's not, for me personally, that's not investing or collecting. That's flipping. Okay. If it's even shorter than that, that's scalping. Okay. And hey, if you can do that and you can make money, more power to it. I'm never gonna disparage you for trying to make a few bucks for you or your family. Okay. But I just don't feel it's fair to call it collecting or investing. It takes time in market again, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn. I can't give you a playbook. No one can give you a playbook on what to do because there's going to be a market in the future that no one has experienced before. Every market is different. So how could they give you a plan, right? You have to do this yourself. You have to do it. You make a plan. It's going to take time. You're going to learn, and you're going to take that learning to make better decisions further on down the road. I've done this myself. I've made mistakes. My thing is I try not to go all in on a product. I've done that before. I've gone all in on a product thinking this is going to be the next big thing. I'm going to make a ton of money. And guess what? It wasn't. Now all that money was tied up in one specific plan, one specific gamble, essentially, right? And I've learned there's a couple other channels that talk about this. Casting that, Final Trade is one of them. I absolutely love his channel. Go check it out for Pokemon. He talks about casting the wide, thin net, right? And that means that you diversify what you spend your money on, and that helps smooth out some of these ups and downs. Now, there's going to be times like a surging sparks. I could see the writing on the wall. I knew this thing was going to be hot. Okay, there's very few times where I have that kind of insight, but I felt like I had it on that. I went pretty heavy. A box is at about $100 a pop, and that paid off. That paid off great. But there's most of the time that's not going to happen, and you don't want to get stuck with all your money in one product, and then that product goes sideways. You not only do you have unrealized losses, but emotionally you feel like you screwed up. But again, if you stay the course, you stay in investing long term, those quote unquote mistakes and that repetition of mistakes are going to turn into wisdom that you use in the future to really make some really good profit. And we're not just talking Pokemon here. We're talking life. We're talking regular investing, job, relationships, everything. So that's it. Kind of a ramble. I'm sure I missed something here. I'll try to circle back in a couple key points here in further videos. I'm going to have quite a few in this series. Let me know what you think. You spend a lot of money earning hard-earned cash. Please be careful with it. This is fun. It's a great way to make some extra money on something that you like, something that you love. I don't know there's certain people who love stocks and that's a great hobby and they have fun, but for most people it's pretty boring because it takes time. This is a way that we can earn money with something that we really like, but you can't take the time part of it. You can't rush it. It's going to take some time. So be very careful with what kind of money, extra money that you have that you apply to this. Please don't be in debt. Please don't use debt to buy printed cardboard. It just doesn't, again, you do you, but doesn't make any sense to me. We will see you on the next Pokemon Investing 101 video. Take care.